Welcome back to What She Said on Canada Talks, Sirius XM 167.
And I'm Christine Bentley in studio with Sharon Caddy, and today we're going to talk to a woman who had a traumatic accident 21 years ago and the journey that she took before finding what she considers the best treatment for neurological disorders anywhere, called Aim to Walk. Jennifer Wright, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And we also say hello to Jesse Lown, who is both an owner and director of therapy at Aim to Walk.
Hi.
Yay. So, Jennifer, let's start with you. What happened to you 21 years ago?
I went fishing with some friends at nighttime, and on our way back from our little expedition, another boat coming home from the bar struck us head on. It knocked me into the bottom of the boat, and when I woke up, I realized I couldn't feel my legs. I was air-vac'd, to Toronto, where they discovered that I had broken 6 vertebrae, 4 in my neck and 2 in my lower back. At that point, I was paralyzed from the neck down and wasn't able to move. I stayed at Sunnybrook for 5 weeks, and then they transported me off to a live-in rehab facility where I stayed for a further 5 months.
Now, at what point, when you come into a situation like that, obviously, I mean, it's traumatic, it's life-changing. Is there a message of optimism given to you at any point during this part of the journey?
Not necessarily.
Wow.
Actually, one of the doctors that I remember very clearly when I was in the Emerge at Sunnybrook, I asked her if I would walk again, and she said no. And I think my GP was pretty much in the same opinion. My injuries are very severe, and multiple fractures to the neck don't usually leave you able to move.
So what was going through your mind, Jennifer, when you got that prognosis? I mean, here we are. It's not 4000 BC. You think that we're able to do almost anything. We can fly somebody to the moon. Why can't we fix my back? I don't know. What were you?
You know what? And this is one of the things that's really missing in the medical system is there's no education on this. I mean, now I'm very educated in the world of spinal cord injury and neurological rehab. But when it comes to a traumatic experience, there's no how-to handbook. They don't say to you, okay, well, this is a spinal cord injury. This is step A, B, and C that you're going to experience. So it's really a matter of just experiencing it and sort of taking it one step at a time and hoping for the best and really not knowing what to expect.
So what was your emotional reaction when you heard this from your doctor and the doctor in Emerge?
I think my first question was, can I still have children? So they said yes, regardless of my situation. And my perspective was, well, if I can get up on my feet at all, then I'm good. You're really not in a frame of mind to analyze your emotional position at that point. You're sort of just in survival instinct mode.
So tell us, at that time, what options were you given?
Not many. I was given, once I was able to sit in a wheelchair or in bed, which was 5 weeks out from my original injury, I was given the option to go to an inpatient public rehab facility. And that's pretty much all I knew. I didn't know anything other than that. So when I went to this facility, I thought they were amazing and they did wonderful things. When I came out of that facility and spent another 15 years seeking physical therapy, I realized that there was a hell of a lot more out there that I wasn't given an opportunity to experience.
You must have been given some goals at the outset, but what were they? They sound like they were fairly modest goals.
Yeah, it was really quite difficult because I had a multi-level injury, as I said. So I had a halo on. I don't know if you've ever seen those barbaric contraptions. I wore that for 3 months and was in a wheelchair for 3 months. And because I had a fusion in my lower back, and I had nerve damage, they were really hesitant to let me move around too much. As soon as it was possible for me to put weight on my feet, they allowed me to stand in the parallel bars and take a few labored steps. But the goals were just to push it as hard as I could, and that's what I tried to do.
So what happened 6 years ago?
Very strange circumstances. My stepbrother had an injury, and he came across a locomat. And I found these guys, and I was super excited because I thought, okay, I am on my feet. After working 5 months, I was able to walk, but not in any way that I thought was close to normal. So when I was able to actually get on this machine that replicated a specific perfect walking pattern, it was very exciting. But the initial, excuse me, the initial experience of the robotics was sort of short-lived, and you realize, okay, well, this is a really great device, but the whole protocol is not all about equipment. It's about the manner in which it's managed.
So we're going to bring Jesse into the conversation here, who runs Aim to Walk. Maybe we can tell our listeners, starting out, because it's the most basic equipment, what is a Lokomat?
The Lokomat. So basically, I mean, it's too bad that if you see it, then you can understand right away what it's all about. Basically, it's a treadmill, and you hang someone over it, like you suspend someone over this treadmill, and there's a set of robotic exoskeleton legs that literally wrap around you, and they walk you, and they walk you on this treadmill. And because your weight suspended, we can put as much weight as you can bear. So if you can, like with Jen, she can actually hold herself up, so we can put most of her own weight onto the ground. If someone can't, like if the injury is severe enough that the person actually can't bear their own weight at all, we can actually just sort of suspend them above the treadmill, and then these legs walk them, and it's a perfect gait pattern, which means it walks you basically as perfect as you would walk on your own.
So is this a combination that sounds like on one hand, we would think it's muscle because, if you've been in a position where you can't exercise your muscles, there's no muscle, but you must be retraining neurological pathways.
Yeah, so essentially what it is it's robotic, which means it's moving you, but it's not necessarily contracting your muscles.
Okay.
That's something different. But the idea is that your body recognizes the movement. And so that in itself, there's benefits there neurologically. I mean, there's benefits just to getting up and moving. Someone who can't move, and you sit for 5 months and don't move, I mean, you'll be in bad shape. And so just having something move you is great in itself. But yeah, because it's a perfect walking pattern, you can kind of think of it like muscle memory almost. Your nervous system remembers. And then when we take you off the Lokomat, there's a better chance that you can now initiate a perfect walking pattern on your own.
Wow.
But Jennifer, you have said that the Lokomat wasn't the only answer. You knew that this clinic was the place for you. Why?
I think if I had been given an opportunity early on to use this equipment, you were mentioning about the nerve memory. I think because I had the potential, so much more potential than I realized that I was going to have, if I had had an opportunity to get on the Lokomat and replicate that walking pattern when my nerves were compensating and when they were still able to compensate for the loss of certain functions, then maybe in the long run I would have been better off. Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff you can't do controlled studies with, because you're not going to say, I'm sorry, but you're not allowed to get better. We're going to use you as a control sample, and then we're going to add some people and let them get better and see how you feel. So it's difficult to introduce it into the public system because of that. But with regard to the Lokomat, basically I was able to walk distances that I wouldn't have been able to walk before. I was able to weight bear. I was able to close my gait. I used to walk really wide, and it pulled me together. But the important thing, and as Jesse mentioned, when you get off of that machine, it's not stimulating your muscles when you're on there. So either you can work your muscles doing other types of exercises and then incorporate the Lokomat or other equipment with it. But one of the most important things is really the entire protocol, the entire system of tissue work, which I think is very underrated in therapy. I think it's especially with neurological conditions, when you have spasticity and tension and contractures in your muscles, you need to get them worked out. You need to be able to have acupuncture or deep tissue massage or mobility, joint mobility, in order to be able to move. And as I'd mentioned to you before, Christine, this is not a short-term commitment. When you have an injury, and any injury actually, but mostly with neurological, especially with neurological, you have to really commit yourself to a lifelong regimen of exercise and therapy and tissue work and the whole gamut.
Well, you also said that the whole clinic atmosphere gave you a huge emotional boost. It's very different from a traditional clinic.
Absolutely, it is. I think it's even more beneficial for people who don't have the exposure that maybe I do. I'm sort of, I don't really slow down very much, so I'm out there already. But there are a lot of people who have injuries like mine who hide, and they're afraid. They're either embarrassed by the fact that they're not the same as everyone else, or they feel that they can't do things because they're not mobile enough. And this environment allows everybody to work together and to see each other go through their therapies and watch them grow.
So it's open.
It's open.
Everybody's there together.
Everybody's there together. Everybody kind of is open with their situations as well. People will ask you questions. And being a veteran of 21 years of being injured, I had a lot of people ask, and a lot of people feel encouraged by the fact that, hey, you know what, you can go on, you can move forward, but you do need to work hard.
Well, we're going to keep Jesse and Jennifer with us over the break, and we're going to find out more about this integrated therapy and this clinic right after the break. This is What She Said, and we will be right back after the break. It's really, Sharon, quite amazing that Jesse's even here, because he just flew back from Jamaica, where a client has him down, flies him down every once in a while for private sessions, and also comes up here. That's how strongly this client believes in this protocol. So, Jesse, why is this integrated approach more beneficial?
So the idea of integration makes more sense when you put it beside what most people call multidisciplinary therapy. So multidisciplinary is a word a lot of people use now. A lot of clinics say they're multidisciplinary. It's good, but basically the difference between the two is multidisciplinary would mean a variety of different professionals all working in one space. So that's convenient for you because, you know, all of your therapists are working in the same vicinity, but they're not necessarily working together. And so integrated would mean that they're all working together. So the easy way to kind of understand this is in a multidisciplinary environment, yes, all of these different therapists might be available to you, but they're each going to work with you on their own. They're each going to have their own file on you.
And you have separate appointments, separate approaches.
Yeah. And they may talk. Yeah. They may talk to each other, but they're not really working together as a team. So integrated means you're a team. And that means there's one file, and all of the therapists work off the one file as a team. And so that's really the big difference.
So if there's an issue, everybody addresses it.
Yeah, and everybody, so the challenge with integration, and the reason, it makes a lot of sense, and you might say, well,
why isn't everybody
doing that? And it's because it's really hard to pull off for a variety of reasons. And one of the main reasons is actually just communication between different professionals. A lot of people practice in their own subset of medicine or of therapy, and they don't know how to communicate with each other. Maybe because of just semantics. If you take traditional therapies like acupuncture or maybe shiatsu or even meditation and yoga, things like that, and then you throw in a physiotherapist, and then you throw in a chiropractor, and all these people need to talk on the same page. And when you actually talk to all these people, you realize they're looking at things differently, uniquely. And so it's difficult.
When you're seeing, and the community in general must be seeing results from this integrated approach, is this the more forward-thinking sort of treatment of the future kind of approach?
100%. What it means is that, so right now when you go out there for any kind of therapy, for any kind of problem, it used to be you just thought a doctor, right? Everyone you go to the doctor, but nowadays people's minds are a lot more open. You realize there's a lot of options. A lot of people seek out all kinds of different health professionals. And then that becomes a problem in itself. Who do you go see now? There's so many options. And there's too many, and it seems like every year there's new approaches to therapy popping up. There's new styles of therapy, and it's pretty confusing, for someone who doesn't really know where to go. So integration would mean that everybody comes together and sees things on the same page.
So are there challenges, though, integrating traditional medical practices with more modern scientific ones?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's an understatement. Let alone semantics and perceptions of looking at the body. Traditional medicines aren't scientific in the way we kind of think about it now. They're not really biologically scientific. They're very abstract. They're very metaphorical. They're almost more philosophical, a philosophical way to understand health. And so you take that kind of perception to your doctor, and he's going to think you're crazy. You know, the doctor's going to make fun of you and think you're not very professional. And yet these practices have been around for thousands of years and obviously have relevance. So it's communication that's the problem. That's a huge issue. And then, to be honest, the other big issue that comes up a lot is ego, because people, people get hung up on the way they do something, and they think it's the best way, and then so that it's hard for sometimes 2-3 different professionals to come together because they have to drop their own sense of self-worth, And
well, it's ego and it's respect. It's respecting that someone else's treatment, someone else's approach has value and it shows results. And perhaps if you did them harmoniously, you'd have even better results. And I guess therein is your goal.
Yep. And with traditional medicines too, and traditional approaches to therapy, the other thing is, a lot of people either have kind of grown up with one mentality or the other. They've grown up in an environment that supports alternative therapies, or they've grown up in an environment that's very modern. And it's really funny that it's almost like you're in one, team or the other, and these two teams don't get along. And it's really strange that it has to be that way. It doesn't need to be that way. You can overcome it, but that's the challenge.
But is the pushback from traditional medicine softening a little bit? Because I know lots of people now, friends of mine, who are looking for doctors who will also, integrate some holistic, naturopathic elements to caring for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, really what's happening now is a lot of the old generation doctors that have been around, the ones that learned, stuff from 50, 60 years ago, they're kind of moving on now, and there's a younger batch of doctors, in the world, and these ones are used to this stuff, and they're used to having their clients ask, can I do another therapy? Is there an alternative to taking medication? And they're just so used to it now that they're educated.
Well, and that's partly to do with the world is a smaller place because of the internet. People can do research, and I think the new generation of doctor has to be more open-minded and aware of what's out there because, like you said, the patients are coming in armed with information.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes that works against you because
it could be wrong information.
Or there's just so much. I mean, I've had people come and ask me some crazy stuff. I don't know where they're finding their information. So it's amazing, but then you also have to sort of filter it. And so there's challenges there as well. But yeah, I think generally it's, things look good. It takes time. Mm-hmm. It takes time.
But you still get pushback because are you on the list of options at every hospital where they see injuries like Jennifer's as an option?
No, I wish just because it would make such a difference to people who, there's nothing more like for someone like Jennifer, giving her the option, giving her the information to make the choice for herself, it would have made a big difference for her. And that's really what it's about. A lot of people aren't really empowered with the knowledge that they need to have right away. They're in a really vulnerable state. And they're kind of just hoping the people around them are going to take care of them. But who are those people? And you're going to be vulnerable to those people's opinions. So if the doctor who happens to be taking care of you says this is what you should do, I mean, that's going to be what you do.
So what is the pushback from healthcare facilities, rehab facilities?
It's kind of the age-old argument of public versus private, public health versus private health. I'd like to see those lines get blurred. And I think little by little, public tries, but it's very, not to get down on the public health system. They do what they can. They're very limited with what they can do, and so progress takes time. That's all.
Yeah. Well, you are associated with the Holland Bloorview Rehab Center, the largest children's rehab hospital in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how's that going? Yeah,
it's good. There's quite a few people that we dialogue with. We're little by little, we're meeting people in the industry. More and more people are interested. If basically the way it works is if people see something working, then, it'll get their interest. Now, to make it now a standard in healthcare that's a big ordeal. But the first step is just let people see that the stuff works. let people see that the public is interested, and then something will happen. But it just takes time, and sometimes that's unfortunate because it takes a long time. But
and time can be of the essence. But just to be out there and to be seen and that know that the option is available, then you see someone like Jennifer, who definitely reaps the benefits of coming into this kind of an environment, this kind of a therapy, and really do see amazing results.
Is this covered at all by OHIP?
OHIP, no.
Or
no.
any government health plans anywhere in the country?
No. So most, because we are a private facility, so some of our clients are from MVA, like a motor vehicle accident, so there's they'll have insurance from that. A lot of them have, private insurance that they can use, which doesn't really go very far, but it's something. And then the rest, unfortunately, are paying out of pocket. And it can, and like, Jennifer made a really good point, and this is the big challenge. These injuries are often catastrophic. They're lifelong concerns, You can make a lot of progress, but it's something that you're going to be working with, for the majority of your life. And there's a cost to that, an ongoing cost. Right. And if you're paying out of pocket, and remember, you've been injured, so you might not be able to work, or, the stress of work is now on your partner. And so this isn't just like, you sprain your ankle and you got to do therapy for 6 months and then you're back on your feet and everything's okay. This is something that's ongoing. And so cost with this kind of stuff is a big deal.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Jennifer, I just wanted to ask you, because I think you said this very strongly. Do we all need in this country to be our own healthcare advocate? Can people go to a doctor and they say, well, the doctor told me, or the doctor said this or that, but you're saying, no, you need to do, because you said you've done the research.
Absolutely. I think that's something that a lot of people don't take responsibility for. They put a little bit too much trust into the healthcare professionals as opposed to taking responsibility for it themselves. Jesse made a few points with regard to the integration of this type of therapy into the public system. Because I was so passionate about the equipment and the protocol of this clinic, I worked for them for a little while and helped try to sell and to integrate this equipment into the public system. One of the pushbacks that we get from people is budget. A lot of these hospitals don't have the budget. This equipment is expensive. But it's also, you can always get the money. I think that fundraisers are a phenomenal thing. People who are passionate about these types of things are going to be willing to donate and actually spend time to raise funds to be able to put this type of equipment or protocol into a system. But I also think there's the blinders are on in a lot of these professions in the public industry. These facilities have to deal with incredibly acute cases where people are incredibly altered in their lives, where they have to make massive drastic changes. In my situation, I'm on my feet. I haven't had to alter my home or my car or my entire life because of a wheelchair, but a lot of people do. And they need to get them from point A to point B to being able to go out into the world and take care of themselves. That's what the public system does. They take care of you from point trauma to go home, and this is as good as you can do to be able to manage your own health. What they need to do on top of that, and again, with the ego thing, it is possibly a point here, they need to educate those people to say, this is what I can do for you, but these are the other options that are out there. They need to make sure that people have that choice, because if you don't fall upon this stuff by accident or have somebody come up to you and say to you, hey, you really should try this out, you're not going to find it. And nobody's going to tell you. So you need to get on it right away, whoever's involved. And trauma and it is very discombobulating when you are in a situation where your life's tossed upside down and you're faced with not being able to move again. Your blinders are on as well, and you're moving forward to health, right? You don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're going. There needs to be more education on what's available, and hopefully, potentially, public involvement in funding this stuff. It really is a long-term thing, right? If you're able to help me take care of myself now, 20 years from now, you're not going to have to pay public system to be replacing my hip or my knee because I'm taking care of myself.
This is What She Said with Kate Wheeler, Christine Bentley, and Sharon Caddy on Canada Talks.
Hello there, I'm Christine Bentley in studio with Sharon Caddy and our friends Jennifer Wright and Jesse Lown from Aim to Walk. And this has been a really eye-opening conversation because there are a lot of people out there, right, Sharon? With these sorts of injuries, whatever they may be. And in your case, Jennifer, it was a broken vertebrae, so you were originally told that you would never walk. You did walk, and then you went to Aim to Walk, and you say that there were small changes that added up to a significant change in your quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Having had this injury for 21 years, I've been through a gamut of different therapies. This is something I was going to mention before and forgot. But I tried personal trainers, I tried osteopaths, I tried, hundreds of different types of therapies. And you know, some of them worked and some of them helped a little bit. But nothing, I kind of did get to a point where I thought, you know what, this is just doing more harm to me than good. I'm just going to quit. So I did give up for a number of years and not do any therapy. But when I found these guys, and the tricky thing is, neurological injuries are so different than orthopedic injuries. You have so many components to take into consideration. There's spasticity. There's, with somebody who is mobile, that's a big issue. There's also, for people in chairs, there's other functions, bodily functions that are difficult to manage. It's important to get in there and do as much as you can from the get-go. The fact that I wasn't given the option to do those things at the beginning could have hindered my long-term recovery from this. I would encourage anyone who has any sort of injury, and it's not just neurological, I'm talking from experience in neurology, but any injury that you have, do your therapy. And you're not going to be looking for a magic pill. You're not going to be looking for some sort of miracle and say, oh my gosh, I'm cured, I'm better, I'm going to move forward, and I'm so happy. Well, sorry.
Yeah, and I never have to do therapy again.
Yeah, that's right. And we all look for that, right? I broke my finger recently, and I said to the doctor, how long do I have to wear this splint? When can I take it off? So you're looking for the end game, right? You want to know when you can finish it. But it doesn't work that way. And even, you know, you break your wrist, you fall and you hurt something. You need to take care of that. You've got to keep in mind that this is a commitment for the rest of your life to manage. It's not a matter of having a magic pill to make everything better.
Now, Jesse, like Jennifer got in when she did. My question is, I guess, twofold. Is it ever too late? And is there an optimum early point?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, earlier is always better. There's all kinds of statistics to show that with a spinal cord injury, you know, you're going to make a lot of gains in the first short period of time, and then as time goes on, gains are more difficult. Now that said, a lot of our clients show up. I mean, Jen's made great points here. This is one of our big issues: is people hear about us 10 years post-injury. You know, and so they maybe haven't done maybe anything in that time.
But is there still room for
something? Absolutely, it's going to be more of a challenge. That's just being honest. It will be much more difficult, but there's always improvement, because it's not always about just getting up and walking. It's about quality of life, and sometimes quality of life too. You know, that can be anything from you experience pain, you don't sleep well. There can be. We've talked a little bit about the social supportive kind of component to the therapy, that when we work with people, we like it to be in an open concept so that they can get to know each other and feel better about each other and themselves. And so there's an emotional component, and that makes a big difference. Just having some social activity, realizing that you're not alone in the world, that's healing too. And sometimes healing has a lot to do with just understanding where you are now in life, you know, and not always wishing that you were in a different circumstance. That, you know, so sometimes just, and I don't want to say coming to terms with your reality, because that's harsh, but I mean finding peace with what's possible, but, you know, but progressively, because you can always make gains, right? You can always train your mind, you can train your body, you can learn, you can really make something of yourself. And so a lot of people come to us and they're pretty static. You know, their minds are static, their bodies are static, their lives are static. And so, Yeah, we consider healing, right, or therapy to be just get things moving, make everything's about movement, right? And yeah, that's the key.
But it is hard work, and it's for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. But I mean, I could say that about anybody. You don't need an injury for me to say that you should think of your life as something that you have to push and learn and grow as a person, right? So therapy is the same. Yeah, you have to, and your challenges when you have an injury will be more. You have more challenges. So same idea, but even harder. But that's the way it is. And so you push and you make little gains and you improve your life.
So you think of it as eating healthy, which you should do for the rest of your
It should be
life,
ongoing. Yep.
and working out in some fashion, which should be for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So is that the way you sort of train people to think?
So
People who are waiting for the miracle?
yeah, quite often we have, most people, to be honest, are waiting for that miracle, or they'll say, okay, 3 months, am I going to be up and walking? And, it's hard to, you don't want to just say no. You got to, work with them. You got to, we need to spend time getting to know our clients, because it's very personal, and we spend a lot of time with them, and we get close to them, and so you have to get to know people. And once you get to know them, and once they trust you, then you can start talking. You can really talk. And that's when, we can actually they know what we're able to do. We know where they're at. We can see what's possible, and we work with them. And one of the ways that we try to help people with that financial burden of this being the rest of your life is how to empower themselves to take care of themselves. Jen actually doesn't need to spend as much time with us now as she used to. She's learned a lot of things that she can do on her own. We were teaching her Tai Chi to help her learn how to move again, right, with nice fluid movement, and she can go home and practice that now. So little by little, whatever's possible, we try to give people things that they can do on their own, because then that's empowering. And basically, if you've had a catastrophic injury, you've been disempowered. I mean, you've taken your life was a certain way, bam, it's not that way anymore. Something dramatic has been taken away from you, and you have to overcome that. And so we have to help you get it back again, get back your empowerment.
Very quickly, Jesse, who are the people that would come to you? Injuries, what else?
Well, we specialize in neurological injuries. So the big ones are spinal cord injury, brain injury, multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, stroke. Those are the big ones, but there's all kinds of neurological injuries, anything Parkinsonian type symptoms. As people age, there's all kinds of unusual symptoms that sometimes appear that, sort of get categorized as just unknown neurological injuries. But yeah, those are the main ones. Now that said too, we're treating a lot of other stuff, but those are definitely the main ones.
So if people are looking for your clinic, how do they go about finding you, sourcing you?
Finding us, the easiest way is online. They go to the website. It's aim2walk.ca, and that's the number 2. And then from there, there's all the info about us. We've tried to make the website really accurate to who we are. It's not just a template site. It's we've tried to be really honest about who we are and what we do, and show our attitude, and everything's on there. And yeah, you can check us out. And we love getting feedback from people. We're always getting emails from, interestingly enough, we get a lot of emails from students in kinesiology courses and physio courses, and we love that, because now we're making a lot of associations with universities, and a lot of interns are coming, and that's amazing, because this is the new batch, right, going into the world.
Ooh, that sounds good. Speaks well to the future. Thank you, Jesse and Jen. It's great having you here. All the best.
Nice.
Thank you.